Dropped unceremoniously out of the ring by Yokozuna.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me.
Okay, and we're back for another episode of Wrestle-Talk on Tuesday on YouTube. Unfortunately, our special guest couldn't get here, but we're going to do things a bit differently than last week. Instead of being on a schedule, we're on our own freehold thing, so we can talk about anything for as long as we want, or as less as we want. So we might as well just review Raw to get started. And what did you think about Raw, Drew?
It was pretty good. There was a few matches that were okay.
Well, that's Raw every week. A few good matches. Unfortunately, this Scramble match is yet to be deciphered into the English language, because at the start of the show, Michael Cole tried to explain the rules of the Scramble match, and Jerry Lawler sort of saved him from humility by saying, "I'm a little confused, but you can check on WWE.com for the rules." So, you know, the rules have already changed in the Scramble match. We're not going to have 5-second champions, we're going to have interim champions, which makes me question why they're even doing a match like this in the first place. But we got a second helping of our favorite Scrambles. Instead of just a Raw Scramble, now we have a SmackDown one, and I think we've been on the road to an ECW Scramble match.
Yeah.
And we know that one of those, the three champions, are going to lose the belts, unfortunately. I hope CM Punk can manage to keep the belt, because he's done a very good job as champion, and he's reigned throughout the entire summer. And it would be a shame if JBL were to get the title. But are you convinced that this John Cena injury is a real injury?
Yeah, I think it is actually.
I'm pretty sure it is. But the first time I watched it on Raw, I was like, oh dear God, here we go again. This is another fake injury. But then I actually heard that Cena, in some way or another, is injured, and he's away to the doctors to see the very same doctor that repaired Stone Cold's neck injury. So that is kind of scary, considering Stone Cold had a very serious neck injury after he was pile driven to the mat to Owen Hart at SummerSlam. And Austin was out, but he was still on TV making regular appearances, but he couldn't wrestle in the ring. So we hope Cena a speedy recovery. And of course, who better to take his place than the person who's, you know, you take one guy out of the match because he's injured, and then you put another guy who's supposed into the match who's supposed to be beaten within an inch of his life. I mean, what's happening with Rey Mysterio? I mean, he was supposed to be dead, and now he's in a world title match, Unforgiven. What's going on?
Beats me.
But that's another plot hole. Tell you what, the WWE creative team wouldn't know their asses from the plot holes that they leave in everyday storylines. But regardless of that, we have another Scramble match that we may as well talk about. This isn't just a Raw review. We can talk about SmackDown, ECW, and we could even talk about TNA and ROH if anybody feels like it. So the SmackDown one is obviously more interesting. Okay, and we're going again. And sorry about that, but the SmackDown Scramble match has Triple H, the World Champion, the Brian Kendrick, the US Champion Shelton Benjamin, Jeff Hardy, and MVP. So, what are your thoughts on the SmackDown Scramble match as opposed to the Raw Scramble match?
Well, I think the SmackDown Scramble match lacks star power. It really only has Triple H and Jeff Hardy, who I think could actually win.
Well, it doesn't matter when you have star power. I'm looking more forward to the SmackDown Scramble match, because it's obviously more interesting and in flux, because who can honestly say that Brian Kendrick or Shelton Benjamin or MVP will get a title match on a pay-per-view if it were not for the Scramble match. And I doubt that Brian Kendrick would be in this match if Kennedy or Umaga were not injured. Or I suppose both of those, if not one of them, would have taken his spot in the Scramble match. But that's how things goes, and I like Brian Kendrick. He's becoming one of the favourites of mine very quickly with his big bodyguard Ezekiel, and wins over every jobber on the SmackDown brand, including Colt Cabana, who's second only in the ring whenever it comes to comedy to Santino Marella. And speaking of Santino, we had another interesting development in the Santino Beth storyline. Of course, it all looked like they were over until Kofi Kingston got KO'd on a knee of Santino. And people don't just go down after one knee, but it's pretty hard to put Santino over whenever you jolt him out to everybody. What do you think about that?
Sort of unrealistic because people get hit with like moves like that all the time, but
I've seen
if it's gonna help Santino be Intercontinental Champion, then
well,
I guess it works.
I'll do you one better. I've seen people kick out of the code breaker, obviously, and that's just the same thing, only about 10 times more painful. And, well, that's that. And Santino remains Intercontinental Champion, hopefully for much longer than his last title reign, which lasted about 2 months, and unfortunately he lost it then again to Umaga. But this is back whenever he was babyface, go nowhere Santino. Now he's heel, hilarious Santino, and that just fits him like a glove. On to the next part. I guess we might as well talk about the Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho segment. What do you think about this segment, Drew?
Well, I don't get why they're advertising it as an unsanctioned match. They should just make it a normal match,
Well,
like a street fight or something.
Well, they might as well they need to have a gimmick match. Unsanctioned match, as far as I know, would be just a match that was just made. It has no rules or anything like that. Just a 3 count or a submission. Or if that. I don't know. It's very confusing stuff, but that's what we get for being fans. We have to be able to keep up with the World Wrestling Entertainment, because some of the people backstage, the mentality, they think we have very bad memories. We're not very smart. But that's just them. We're obviously a lot smarter than they give us credit for sometimes. But that was the one shining moment of the show, because Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho can put on a great match, put on a great segment anytime. And this is probably going to be the end of their rivalry, unfortunately, because, you know, they could have had Shawn Michaels versus Lance Cade. Then they could have built up to the final Shawn Michaels Chris Jericho match, hopefully at a star pay-per-view like Survivor Series. But with 14 pay-per-views, they only have 4 star pay-per-views. They're going to have to get 3 Unforgiven, No Mercy, and Cyber Sunday. Oh my god. They get to Survivor Series. But there you go. With 14 pay-per-views a year. And $40 for every one of them. So that's a little bit unfair. Well, anyway, we're almost out of time. We have about 25 seconds left. Oh wait, hold on, I extended the show. We have about 30 seconds left now. Okay, right, we might as well just speed on with things on a 35-second warning. Crime Time and Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase match at Unforgiven. I guess we all can't wait to see a tag team match on a pay-per-view that isn't forced to be on there, like Night of Champions. I think this is the first time the tag team titles have actually been defended on pay-per-view, besides Night of Champions, where every title is basically forced to be there. And we're unfortunately out of time. Good night, everybody.